What's up? It's Larold, and we are like 4 or 5 days into the PoE early access release, and it's going pretty great. We've gotten our first hotfix of the game, which has really had a positive impact on the state of drops and just kind of the gameplay loop of the campaign. And I've spent the last couple of days running a bunch of maps, which are really fun. I definitely have a lot of feedback on maps. And then I've also made some pretty big tweaks to my build that have made it way easier to play and a whole lot stronger. It is seriously cranking. I am kind of killing rares and bosses so quickly that I can't really even get my full skill combos off. They're just like dead before I line everything up. All right, let's get into it, but first, like and subscribe. All right, let's start with the hotfix. So some of this is already in, some of this is coming in later on, but there was a pretty significant post from GGG talking about all the early access, post-launch feedback, all of our whining. It worked. It worked. I don't really feel that way. I think a lot of the complaints were very justified, including this one about dodge roll changes. This was something that got me killed a lot in the first like 10-15 minutes of the campaign, and I eventually just kind of got it into my mind, never, ever let yourself get surrounded, which unfortunately has still gotten me killed. I think getting surrounded and getting stuck on terrain is probably the thing that's gotten me killed the most in maps. You know, probably 80% of my deaths have been just getting stuck in terrain or getting stuck in a ritual. Ugh. So the first change here is that dodge rolls will be changed so that instead of having a pixel size or a player size of 1 unit when you're rolling, you'll be set to 0. So if enemies are completely fenced around you, you won't be able to roll through them still. But you should get trapped a lot less often. I think that should hopefully feel a lot better. I have been getting around that. I mentioned this in my previous video with the quarterstaff skill. I was going to say monk skill, but really quarterstaff skill, vaulting impact, because I think that is doing exactly that. I think it's setting your unit size to 0 when you're vaulting over. You can definitely get stuck on terrain, case in point, but you can technically vault over mobs that you would never be able to roll through, and I think they're basically going to make roll work like that. That's not in yet, though. Checkpoint changes, these are also not in yet, but they're going to make it so that clicking a checkpoint will allow you to teleport to other checkpoints in the area that you've explored. This should help a lot in the campaign. I would like for something like this to function in maps. Obviously, it can't, but there are a few maps where I'm going to pull up MS Paint. Okay, so there have been a few maps, just to use my handy dandy MS Paint here, where the entrance will be like here, and the map will be laid out like this, all the way around here. Big, long map layout, and there'll be like one little rare over like right here, and I'll have made my way all the way to the end. And then I'll get the notification that like, oh yeah, there's a rare over here that needs to be killed. Maybe it's like a rare that burrows under the ground, one of those annoying mob types, and I didn't see it, or maybe I just missed it because I'm bad. And so I'll have to just literally walk all the way back through the entire map. That's happened to me a couple of times, really stank. So something like that to help with maps would be nice. I don't necessarily think they need to, you know, this is basically strand layout, but in like a horseshoe format, and I don't think they need to kill that layout, but definitely that kind of situation is pretty annoying in maps. Definitely was annoying a lot in the campaign as well. I think subsequent campaign playthroughs are going to be a lot more enjoyable. Item changes are kind of the big thing. Rare monsters have already gotten this buff in. They've made it so that the rarity bonus per rare mod has been doubled. I have definitely noticed that. I've noticed a lot more rare and unique items off of rare monsters and a lot more currency as well. There's also a 10% quantity bonus per rare mod, and then they've increased the chance of rare monsters inherently having more mods as you progress through the end game. So I've noticed a lot more mods. The rares are definitely spookier. But I mean, like right now at the state of my character, I'm kind of flattening them. So whatever. And I've definitely noticed a lot more drops from them. I think that in particular, I think this makes like essence mobs. I think all of those essence mods count as rare mods for that quantity bonus, because all of the essence monsters that I've killed have felt like loot boxes, basically. They just explode with loot. And this is something that I kind of noticed, that I think maybe the one downside of them buffing drops is because we don't have a real working filter right now. I have noticed that there's a lot of just visual clutter that gets in the way, and so I've actually had some deaths to killing a rare, pretty easily, and it had volatile pods attached with it. Didn't realize, start picking stuff up, boom, 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 dead in half a second from all those pods that I couldn't see through all the item tags. Then there's another change here for currency that's just really helped a lot. Regal Orb drop rates up by 40%, disenchanting 6 mod rares, of which I think I've done this 2 times. We'll give 2 Regal Shards instead of 1. You know, terrible rares with garbage stats on them, but it's got 6. Whatever, that's fine. And then Lesser Jeweler Orb drop rates have gone up by 33%. This is very noticeable, especially as you start getting into like Act 5 and 6, and then actually into maps. You really will see a lot more of these Lesser Jeweler's Orbs. It really helped a lot with getting up to 3 support gems on basically all of my skills. Any skill that I want, really. They also reduced the drop rate of Chaos Orbs, and this is a good thing because Chaos Orbs, as it kind of turns out with them basically just being an Annul Exalt, are kind of worthless unless you pick up an item that like sucks but could have been good. You pick up an item that has like a really high value fizz mod, percent increased fizz prefix, but then it just has like elemental flat damage prefixes. You could hopefully try to roll a chaos on it and get it percent and flat fizz rolls and be good. But, you know, it's a real gamble currency, kind of like relative to a Vol Orb. So with it being like that, it's pretty bad for you to get those early on in the campaign where they'd be usually pretty worthless. And that is the first major currency orb that I found in the campaign. I found a Chaos Orb before I found an Exalt, or I don't even think I saw an Alk, a raw Alk, until mapping. So definitely them dropping reducing the drop rate on that, and then that making Exalted Orbs be more common was really good. I was able to find a lot more Exalted Orbs after this change happened. And then finally, Jim Cutter's Prism drop rates being increased by 500% and giving 5% quality instead of 1. 2 awesome changes. I immediately, upon, I read this post on the moment that they put it out, I read this and I was like, cool. And then I continued doing whatever it was I was doing in game, and the very first rare mob I killed dropped a GCP. So if that felt pretty good, and this is not just a 500% increase in the drop rate, it's also a 500% increase in the effectiveness, resulting in like a 2,500% increase in value. I really like this. I think that needing 4 GCPs for each skill feels way better. Then also they have changed a bunch of map mods. They've just buffed a lot of map mods that are rewarding, quant mods and rarity mods, and then removed some of the bad mods. You know, basically it just means that map mods, when you're mapping, are gonna suck less, and that's good. They've also done an unlucky drop protection with bosses in particular, so that unique monsters can only drop 50% of their items as gold. And then they made it so that act and map bosses will always drop at least 1 rare. This is definitely helpful during the campaign. There were a lot of times where I would kill a boss and feel like, I didn't get anything, and I think this will make that first couple of hours that were just really bone grinding in the campaign be a lot better for second characters or people who are getting kind of a late start. All right, and then they kind of wrap up this post by talking about maps, and they said that rare monsters will appear on the minimap when there are 200 monsters remaining instead of 50. I think this is already in, because I've definitely had times where I've hit tab and seen there were more than 50 monsters left, but I could see all the rare monsters around. I don't know if all the rest of these are in, though. Maybe every single one of these changes are in, but I don't feel like the dodge roll ones are in yet, and I actually have not gone to check and see if the checkpoint ones are in yet, because I'm going to do that when I level my second character, and I'm not ready to do that yet. All right, now I'm going to talk a bit about mapping. So mapping is very different from how it is in PoE 1. Once you finish the campaign, you're going to show up at a screen that looks something like this. Yours will be different from mine, just like doing Delve. Everyone's Endgame atlas is different. You'll start at some origin point that'll look like this, and you'll just start running maps. You just click a map spot. If I go to my map device, you click a map spot that is lit up blue, and you throw a waystone in it, and you just start blasting, and you can do any tier of waystone. And that's like the huge change here, is that you're not working your way through like 120 plus maps. You are just simply, all of these nodes can be filled with a waystone. It could be tier 1, 2, up through, I think 15 is the cap, maybe it's 16. I don't know, I'm not there yet. And then when you open it, that map will be that level. This is, I think, a pretty huge improvement in terms of reducing a lot of the crap that would go in your bags, having like weird random tier 13 maps that you're never going to run that you would have to put into your map tab, like just having all of the maps exist in the atlas and then be like stones that you can put in and run at whatever level you feel is appropriate. I think that's pretty cool. There's also not a map boss in every single map. Map bosses are marked by this little icon on the left here. The Steaming Springs map, it has 2 icons here, and one is for map bosses and the other is for irradiated, which just means it's +1 level, so harder, more rewarding. Additionally, as you progress around, you can see these little dotted lines between all the nodes. There will be towers, and these also are maps. They count as maps. You run through them. They don't have a boss. They're pretty quick, and they'll have pretty much the same layout, and then at the end of it there is like a staircase up to the top, and you go up top, you click it, and then you are able to put a tablet in, and that will have a positive effect. It'll light up an area, so you'll be able to see everything around that tower, and then it'll also put like a bunch of buffs onto I think I have some tablets here, example tablets like Breach Precursor Tablet, Bountiful Precursor Tablet, so you can roll these up just like you would a map or any sort of item, it's PoE. So 5 maps in range will contain breaches, and this is, I guess, a slight annoyance. Every time I open the map, it's opening to like Act 1, so then I have to hit the Endgame button and then kind of wait on that bit of a delay. Definitely a bit of a delay in opening the map, but you're able to take, you just click on the tower if you haven't already put a stone in, and drop that precursor tablet in, and then it will do what it says. It'll give some maps in the area breaches, pack size, quantity, increased gold, higher chance for additional modifiers on rare monsters in the area. That's a pretty good one. So I think this is pretty cool. It's a little bit delve, it's a little bit, civilization or whatever. And I really have liked a lot of the maps. I was a little apprehensive coming into this early access with the way that they had redone this. The idea that I wouldn't be able to just spam run Dune's Legion over and over again was like a little worrying, but actually I've really enjoyed the variety doing different maps. You will run into the same map. I think I've run into the same basic map layout like several times, like right next to each other. I'm trying to look for them, but I don't know if I can. Of course, now I can't find any, but like I have a couple of maps that I've seen a bunch of times that I really like. Savannah, I've seen several savannas next to each other that I enjoyed, kind of like sulfuric caverns as well. Definitely going to be some maps that people will just basically find themselves being big fans of over time. And that's something that's going to be fun to explore. There are also hideouts around here, and I have one of the supporter packs, so I have like the cool pay-to-win hideout here. If you don't have that, then you should definitely look for one of the hideouts there, at least for me. There was a hideout pretty near the origin point here. I don't remember where, that was like over here. Yeah, here it is, Canal Hideout. So if you're able to get a hideout, then you can set up a hideout and have a much better layout than you get in the kind of default in-game staging area where everything is very spread out. You'll waste a lot of time walking back and forth. Definitely recommend getting a hideout and setting that up. Now, there are other markers on the maps as well. For example, this mire has 2. It has a breach and a ritual. The left hand there is a breach, and then the ritual being that ritual insignia. So that means that there's going to be a breach and a ritual in that map. And this one has in the middle there a delirium mirror. This one has an expedition. And so if you're trying to hunt down particular league mechanics, this is actually pretty easy to do. You just go look for those maps that have that, and you path your way over there and you do them. Now, there was a lot of concern about the idea that if you wiped in a map, it would close the map and lock that map off. That was something that they had said in the initial reveal. They have changed that so that if you wipe a map, like you die and it closes, you can reopen it and run it again. It just won't have any of the league mechanics on it. It won't have a map boss on it. But that's it. It just wipes it clean, and then you're able to run it again with a different watchstone. This is really good. I was really worried about the potential for blocking off pathing and just not being able to go north. Like if I bricked these 4 maps here that I'm mousing over, I just simply wouldn't be able to go north. I'd have to go all the way around to the west, and I would prefer that not to be the case. So really elegant solution on GGG's part. And just to kind of briefly touch on the 4 league mechanics, or I guess really like the 5 things that I've kind of been doing, I really like the bossing. I started out at my origin point, I had a hell of a lot of bosses around me. I had something like 8 bosses. I went and slammed them all. Well, the first boss killed me in 1 hit. I very badly dodged and got 1 banged, but the rest of the bosses I blasted, and that was really fun. I really have been enjoying the hunting down map bosses. Ritual, as I kind of mentioned earlier, it has some weird spawning issues. It's like spawning inside walls. I've had some rituals where I walk up to it, I kill everything around it, and I just can't start it because I think there's a mob stuck in a wall or something. And I've had some rituals where I start them up, they're going fine, and then I get stuck inside of a wall. I can't move, I can't fight, and I just die. That really, really, really made me mad. So I have really not liked Ritual. Breach is very different from how it is in PoE 1. It is pandemonium. There are so many monsters inside of Breaches, and even without any buffs to them at all, without the Atlas passive tree having kicked in, they are deadly. They are full of guys, they're huge, they stay open for a while, and they're incredibly rewarding. So I do like Breach, but it is very risky compared to the rest of the mechanics. Expedition is interesting. So the reward for Expedition essentially is that you just get very basic currencies for your 4 Expedition NPCs. I have them just kind of dumped into a random tab here. Exotic coinage is just what you use to refresh all 4 of the vendor inventories, and then you just get 1 type of artifact to trade with the vendors. And the way they work is they all just have like trading windows. They're all ROG basically. They're just ROG for different types of weapons. So Gwenin will be ROG for like or items, I should say. Gwenin will be ROG for like weapons. You can do ROG crafting. Tujin is ROG crafting for jewelry. ROG is ROG crafting for armor. And honestly, I don't remember what Danig is. I think Danig just lets you trade his sun artifacts for the other 3. That's all I've been able to find of him so far. Expedition I found to be pretty easy. I found it just to be like a really, really relaxed mechanic in terms of tuning compared to the others. And then Delirium I really enjoyed. I thought Delirium was like super, super sick. More so than I had expected. I've always been kind of a Delirium hater, but I really liked Delirium. It just adds a lot of guys, adds a lot of difficulty and a lot of reward, but it's pretty simple. Also, they've reworked the music, and I like the new music for Delirium a lot more than the old one. Has a lot of motifs of the old, but just really sounds good. Good aesthetics in it too. Big fan of the new Delirium. Then there's essences I've already mentioned before. Essences are just solid. They just add rares, or I don't know if they add rares so much as just add mods and rewards to an existing rare on the map, but either way, a lot more value coming off of the essence monsters. Strongboxes I am not thrilled with. The very first strongbox I had was, it had rolled rare, I think maybe also rare and corrupted, and so it was very rewarding, huge loot box, but every other strongbox that I've done that I've come up on that wasn't already rare, very under rewarding, and also they take a really long time to spawn the monsters that are inside them. Sometimes they'll spawn them very far away, like multiple screens away, and you have to really go looking around to kill everything and actually get the strongbox to open and did not even give you a reward, so I really haven't been impressed by strongboxes. And then shrines are the other mechanic that are kind of in the game, and just like a basic mechanic, and they're pretty great. They're just super strong. They just give you like really strong buffs. They have like pretty much 1 for every element, like a lightning shrine that shocks stuff and does damage. That's good. Fire shrine drops meteors. That's good. Ice shrine gives you like an eye of winter around you. That's super awesome. Freezes everything. And then gloom shrine is insane. And acceleration shrine feels really, really good. Feels like you have a quicksilver flask. One other mechanic that is on the map that there we go, I found a spot that has it, is this right here, this little sort of red blob on the Savannah map on the right side. That's the corruption mechanic, and that just means that the map has beyond monsters from PoE 1 in it, and it just has the beyond effect. That's really all that it is. The story, I think, is that you're looking around the map and trying to root out all the corruption, so I guess you want to run these for some, I don't know, bonus points with all the NPCs or whatever, but I don't think there's any actual mechanical tie-in for that, at least not yet. The Atlas passive tree is also super stripped down. This is what mine looks like right now. I started out coming over here to the right, constant crossroads for 20% more waystones. Waystones are pretty sparse, so getting that early was really important. Then my next move was Rising Danger to get more rare monsters and maps, and then I came over and took Twin Threats to duplicate one of the rare monsters. This does exactly what it says. You will have to fight a double rare pack at some point in the map, and that was in the last couple of times that I've done it, actually a little rippy. Well, not in the literal sense. I did kill them, but it is definitely dangerous. So, there's danger there, but rare monsters are overwhelmingly more rewarding than all of the magic or normal monsters in your maps. So I highly recommend getting Rising Danger and Twin Threats, but I would go for Constant Crossroads first. I'm probably also going to come up here and take some of these higher tier Waystone points and get like Crystalline Growths. I think seems really good. Getting Essences, that seems pretty valuable. More monster packs and pack density, pack size doesn't really feel as valuable as just getting more rares. And so that's kind of the direction I'm going right now. I might try and come down here and take Deadly Evolution and these little Waystone quantity points here, just because getting an extra mod or two on all the rares and uniques means more risk, but even more reward. And since those guys are overwhelmingly the big loot reward in your maps, that's really where I want to go to maximize that. I really haven't, I haven't made it to any of the in-game bosses, so I haven't delved into any of those Atlas passive trees yet, but they're all pretty cool. I really like what they've done with the passive trees, just kind of simplifying them down. It's pretty interesting and I think easier for people to grasp. And then it also allows them to have, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different Atlas passive trees. Like that's pretty awesome. All right, now I'm going to talk about my character. So I'll start by just looking at what I've done with the passive tree here. I have this 2-point node here, Mindful Awareness. It's just like a pretty big jump in evasion rating and max energy shield. And anytime I kind of want to spec into something else, I'll take 1 or 2 of these points out. That's currently where I'm at. So I came over here and I took Immaterial. I've taken a lot of evasion and energy shield points around the tree, Spectral Ward, Subterfuge Mask, Immaterial, Shimmering, like all of this. And I've also taken a lot of shock-related stuff, Essence of the Storm, Endless Circuit, Wild Storm, Exposed to the Storm. Really big on doing everything I can to shock enemies, keep them shocked, get a lot of bonuses out of having them shocked. Also still rocking with crit, all of that. The big additions that I've made since the last update are, I've come up and taken Lucidity, these 2 points for 4% of damage taken from Mana Before Life, and then Lucidity giving another 8%, and also a big 15 intelligence bump is pretty helpful because stats were dreadful for quite a while. It was really hard to like upgrade gems and equip gear because my stats were so poor. All right, so I am taking 16% of damage from Mana Before Life, and if you think of mana as being infinite, which, yeah, okay, but it kind of is. I've only heard the monk say I'm out of mana 2 times total in the 100+ hours I've played it. That's basically just 16% damage reduction, which is crazy for coming up here. And it works against everything. Works against damage over time. Works against elemental, physical, you name it. It works on it. So Lucidity has been super duper helpful. It also has just kind of shown me like, it's kind of a good indicator on how much damage I'm taking. If I notice that my mana really is tapped out, that definitely indicates to me that like I kind of need to get out of there or whatever. So just a really good indicator on the damage taken, and in addition to being a huge defensive layer. But not annoying like coming all the way over here and taking Mind Over Matter. That is so far away. That would be so many points wasted to get over here. And, we're able to sustain our mana super easily through the Chayula tree. It's just really, really working super easily to keep that mana full. I've also come over here and taken Martial Artistry for a big accuracy and crit damage bonus and a ton of dex. That really helped. I came over here first and got that just so that I would have enough dex to like equip new stats through the rest of the campaign. Then I came down and took 1 with the Storm so that all my power charge consumers would count as though they're using an extra power charge. This has been really helpful, and in the current state of the reworked build, I am really happy that I have this because there's really good synergy there as well. I also took the crit damage bonus nodes. I thought those were a little bit better than the slightly smaller crit chance nodes. I could go either way though. I get a lot of value out of critting. Like obviously they do more damage, but you also actually get a crit damage bonus. And I probably should take this small passive instead of this one now that I'm hitting so much more often with this build. I've also come up here and taking Alternating Current. There's a lot of mana regen on the way here and increased magnitude of shock. I'm taking increased magnitude of shock over here. So my shock magnitude on enemies that I crit is very high. It's over 40%, and I'm critting all the time. So I'm basically doing at least 40% more damage all the time on any sort of enemy that I'm hitting for any sustained period of time at all. Finally, I have Exposed to the Storm, a couple of points down here for more Lightning Pin. I'm getting 30 Lightning Pin out of that. And then I have another gem in here somewhere, I think. Maybe I took it out. That was giving me 8% Lightning Pin there as well. It is what it is. I've taken it out. I have a couple, like I have this crit damage bonus and chance to inflict ailments gem here that's pretty helpful for getting more damage and uptime on shock. And then this one was just more energy shield, damage taken, recouped his life, tiny bit of that, and LE damage. You know, it's an okay gem. I'm actually using all the stats from it. I might want to exalt this. We'll see. Maybe I could get, I don't know, something useful. Oh, finally, I've taken the Power Within just to get one more max power charge, and then that little bit of power charge duration is actually useful. And now let's get into the skills. So I qualitied up Falling Thunder. It's a pretty great quality bonus, 10% chance to not remove charges on use. It synergizes nicely with what is it called? Perpetual Charge, 35% chance to not remove charges. So you get 45% chance to not remove charges. This was going great. I really like Falling Thunder. Once you have, 5, 6, 7 power charges affecting it, even if you have like 2, really, it's a full screen clear. It kills stuff super well. But there is the problem of actually having to generate power charges all the time in order to use this. And so I was relying on Tempest Flurry as just a very setup skill, basically a builder. I had like increased chance to shock. I'm not sure where that gem is, but it's around here somewhere. 100% increased chance to shock. And then I was using Siphoning Strike to pull the shock out of enemies and then hitting them with these Falling Thunders, kind of doing that as like a whole cycle of skills. Very satisfying playstyle, and if you set it up correctly, those Falling Thunders could kill bosses from very high amounts. I killed some bosses in the campaign from like 65% in a single swing. A lot of stuff going on there that definitely took a lot of setup, but it was very satisfying. The playstyle I'm going with now is I've dropped that entirely, and I'm just using Tempest Flurry as my main skill, just attacking with Tempest Flurry all the time, and so I've hooked that up to Martial Tempo, Primal Armament, and Crescendo. That makes it so that your final attack does a double hit, or lets you do it twice in a row, I should say, and that is by far the most damaging hit of the combo. And then I'm also using Charge Staff. Charge Staff is a much easier power charge spender to maintain, and it's really, really just well made. You can like put one power charge into it at a time, and it'll just build up the stacks and the duration. And with it hooked up to Perpetual Charge, you have a pretty high chance to not consume charges. And then I'm hooking up Lightning Infusion just for more damage, and Persistence for more skill effect duration. With 7 charges like I have, I can get this up to around 57 or 59 seconds or something on the max duration at 7 stacks. And it's really, really easy to maintain between pulls. And as you can see from all the footage, when I'm right-clicking around with Tempest Flurry, it is just throwing lightning beams at everything all the time and doing a hell of a lot of damage. Then I'm supplementing that, since I do have to generate power charges in order to use Charge Staff. I'm using Killing Palm on just low health enemies to get those power charges, or Siphoning Strike if I'm in a single target situation that's going to last a little bit. I can hit them with Siphoning Strike, pull the power charges out, and then use those to power up the Charge Staff. Now, in terms of a big damage cooldown or whatever, I'm using Tempest Spell. The usual. I have that hooked up super critical, and Inevitable Critical, and Lightning Pin. I don't know that this is really the best setup. I've just still been playing around with it a whole bunch, so definitely feel free to tweak it if you'd like. But pretty much what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get set up to like the full 7 stack of Charge Staff, and then drop that Tempest Spell on an enemy's head, rare or unique, and then start just hitting them with a Tempest Flurry, and they're dead before I can do anything else. Now, if that's not the case, if an enemy actually does seem like it's going to last a little bit, there are a couple of things that you can do that add some pretty good combo power. And the Power Within makes it so you get a 20% crit damage bonus if you've gained a power charge recently. So you can hit Siphoning Strike. That'll give you a power charge if you're hitting a shocked enemy. So that's one way to get some power. And then the other, you have these 3 small passives over here. If you've consumed a power charge recently, you get 20% increased crit damage bonus. So Charge Staff is an easy way to consume power charges. And so you can just very easily Siphoning Strike, charge Staff, and that'll give you those combination of bonuses for 80% crit damage bonus for, 3-4 seconds. That is what I was doing previously when I was using Crashing Thunder, Falling Thunder, whatever it's called. And that is how I was able to get those huge explosions, giant slams on bosses. But ultimately, that playstyle was just a lot more inconsistent. It definitely had better screen clear in that it could clear off screen and it could one-shot rares. Again, from a screen away. I really liked it, but it just didn't have the level of consistency or simplicity. This build is way easier to play than that one. That one really, I was literally sweating at times, really had to work for it, and this one, no work at all. Completely easy. I haven't figured out exactly where I want to put Conduction into this build. I had it on Charge Staff instead of Lightning Infusion. I don't know, I didn't really find that it was helping me shock more. I thought about just putting it on Tempest Bell for more shock chance from that, but I feel like it's pretty easy to maintain shock with how many times I'm hitting, so I don't know that I even really need it. I think the biggest concern I have is I don't think I have Lightning Exposure anywhere in the tree. Exposure? Yeah, I don't. I have that in my passives, and I'm not exactly sure what skill I want to put that on yet, but I do want to have Lightning Exposure because it, thanks to Exposed to the Storm, gives a pretty significant amount of crit chance, and then obviously it helps shred enemies' resistances, and we have all this lightning resistance penetration, so that all works really well together. And then finally, I made a change to my auras because I don't really need to generate auras all that much. The lingering illusions that I was running before to help generate power charges, just don't need those anymore. So I'm running Wind Dancer, and with Wind Dancer active, I am getting, at 3 charges of Wind Dancer, I am getting, like 4k evasion rating, and if I turn it off, less than 3k. My gear is horrible, by the way. I haven't traded for a single piece of gear. I'm kind of somewhat doing SSF thus far. I've sold a bunch of stuff to other people and, crafted with the currency I bought from them, but I haven't bought a single piece of gear anywhere at all, other than, I guess, a vendor. And, so yeah, my gear is really rancid. I'm still wearing a bunch of stuff from Act 3. This ring and this neck, I think, are from Act 3 or maybe Act 4, whatever, Act 1 version 2. So even so, really feel like I'm cranking despite the horrendous gear. And I think the only real big change I've made since the last video is just simply I put fast forward onto Ghost Dance, and my Ghost Dance interval is 2.3 seconds as opposed to 3.3. Should have done that a while ago, but it is what it is. Into the Breach, at least for now, putting all these support gems into it is still working, so I have Clarity, Cannibalism, Herbalism, and Vitality in that. And then Herald of Thunder, I have Innervate, Maim, and Blind all in that, so I'm getting a lot of damage, and then just free sort of debuffing procs out of Herald of Thunder procs. Alright, the build is working really well. It's a lot faster and simpler. There is a part of me that kind of wants to go back to the super micro-intensive comboing playstyle, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to rock with this for a while, at least for now. All right, I think that pretty much covers it. I am really enjoying the game. The in-game is super duper fun. Real change of pace from PoE 1's, mindlessly grinding the same map. I'm really digging it. And I'm just looking forward to, what more GGG has coming down the line for us in terms of hotfixes and just more content later on. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.